As ever, I'm going to get into trouble from the people who believe in the echo chamber and believe that you have to constantly promote and celebrate the people who are part of your little tribe. And I know there are people who don't like Douglas Murray, and I must point out there are things which Douglas Murray has said which I don't entirely approve of. I don't like some of the things he said. I like a lot of the things he says. And I think it's important to reflect on people who have the charisma, the grace, the intelligence to be able to hold a room and to give a thoughtful response to an issue. And Douglas Murray is certainly one of those. And today he was awarded by the Israeli president Yitzhak Herzog for his, quote, staunch support of the Jewish state since October the 7th. And I think that staunch support has been a little uncritical in some cases, but I think a staunch support is important. And a staunch support of the Jewish state, from my point of view, also includes a staunch defiance of the premiership of Netanyahu. And so I'm very pleased to see Douglas Murray receiving this award, and equally pleased to see him chumming up with Elon Levy, who has gone through something of a journey himself. And I noticed he was back on GB News last night or the night before. And he again is another very convincing, very erudite, if occasionally wrong, individual. And again, I think these are people who need to be celebrated for what they do. Is Douglas Murray a fearless truth teller? Yes, of course he is. As he was held amidst a symphony of lies, and who understands that the war we fight is not limited to the future of Israel, it is a war for the future of humanity. I entirely agree, but I think the war is being conducted in the wrong form. And equally, I have, just to make this clear, I have reservations about the format of the war which is being conducted at the moment between Russia and Ukraine. While I think absolutely that while President Zelensky requires weapons and asks for weapons, we should provide them, I also think that he was wrong to ask for and for us to provide sanctions. I think sanctions are not the way forward. I don't think the sanctions and boycotts were the way forward, even in response to the apartheid in South Africa. Sanctions are a way of suppressing conversation rather than encouraging conversation. Without conversation, change does not happen at speed. With conversation, change happens, and we can talk to people with whom we do not have a shared view. We can engage with people with whom we are trading, or with whom we are sending out artistic endeavors. To stop all that, to effectively fight a war with a different brand of weapon, is to have muted the various machines of engagement. And I believe it's more important for us to be working the diplomatic angles and to try to bring peace about by that, than to be so exclusively in one echo chamber rather than the other. And anyway, I thought it would be nice to play some of Douglas Murray's speech, acceptance speech, which is a great piece about the importance of defying those people who promote death. We should promote life, to which, we raise a glass and say, l'chaim, to life. Here is what he's got to say.
For 25 years or so, I've been thinking about the taunt that the jihadists, whether they are from Al-Qaeda, from Hamas, from ISIS, the taunt that they make to freedom-loving people, to citizens of liberal democracies. They always have the same taunt. They say, we love death more than you love life. And I've heard this for such a long time. I've heard it from people who've killed friends of mine from Afghanistan to France. And I've always found it an incredibly disturbing taunt. It seems almost something it's almost insuperable, almost unsolvable. What would you do with an enemy that genuinely loves death more than we love life? But recent months in this country have enormously inspired me, because I've realized, of course, there is a very obvious answer to it, which is that there is no crime in loving life this much. We will not apologize for loving life. We will not apologize if you bring up your children to hate, that we bring up our children to love. We will not apologize if you indoctrinate your children into totally inconsequential and unproductive hatred, if we bring them up to live productive and meaning-filled lives. And in the end, it seems to me, actually, now, between these two world visions, the people who love death that much have no chance of winning against the people of life.
And he's right. The people who love death that much have no chance of winning against the people of life. And we should all embrace life. And that means we should talk. We should talk. I would be quite, even though I think he's dead, and even though I think he's wrong, deeply wrong, I'd be quite happy to talk even to Mr. Putin. There are people I probably wouldn't be happy to talk to. Putin is oddly not one of them. And I just think Putin is wrong, deeply wrong, morally wrong. I think he's probably crossed a line. I also think that the progress of the war in Israel is misjudged, and I certainly wouldn't accept tea with the leader of Hamas, or I think, sadly, with Mr. Netanyahu. But I would certainly count the president of Israel as a good being, and I remember listening to the things his father had to say. So I think he's part of a very good tradition and a very good family.